Shot, he scores! And the Ballers win! Helena is no longer undefeated!
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Barons win! Barons win!
Cody Jansen stopped 92 out of 95 shots, including a penalty shot in overtime. Somehow he still only wound up the third star of the game.
You like that?
Jansen has a heart.
You're smoking crack!
Alrighty, we're getting close to the World Junior season. We got an NHL game tonight. And the NHL's also battling COVID. So nothing short to talk about. It's World Hockey Report. What's up? Cody Jansen here. How are you doing? Let's dive into it. It's World Hockey Report. We are presented by Lordco Auto Parts. You should already know that they're official partners of Hockey Canada, Team Canada, the official auto parts retailer. Lordco, they've been your go-to auto parts store since 1974. Lordco, they're a trusted supplier of quality aftermarket auto parts and accessories. Shop owners, automotive professionals, and do-it-yourself vehicle owners know it's the place to go for fast and knowledgeable service. Check out its new location on Calgary Trail Northwest, and don't forget to stroll through its in-store truck center for the latest truck accessories and high-performance parts. The doors are open 7 days a week. View store hours and services at lordco.com. So what do we want to talk about on the show today? We got your thoughts coming in. Of course, join the conversation anytime at 12 Ounce Sports, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Zingo TV channel 761. I want to know, because it's running rampant in Calgary, what should the NHL do about their COVID issues? I want to know. And again, you can let us know anytime at World Hockey RPT on Twitter. I'm there at Janner31_. But I want to hear from you. You can join the conversation. Your comments come up on screen if you hop on 12 Ounce Sports, Facebook, or YouTube. Those are the two easiest ways. Thanks, you Twitter. You're not getting us to join the conversation anymore. But we put the question out there, and we're going to get to some of your thoughts. They are already rolling in at World Hockey RPT. A couple of quick ones off the hop. Harp says the Canadian government's putting down the hatchet. Going to be even tougher. Likely going to cancel games. Donnie says let it run its course and move on with life. Rye says that 95% vax status of NHL players, people were so proud of it. Sure was useless. The same people. Going to be happy about the third and fourth shots too. I don't know. I want to know your opinion, though. At World Hockey RPT, I'm Cody Jansen. Let us know. We got a lot to get to as well. NHL docket, I think there's 13, maybe 12 games in the schedule night now that the Flames games are canceled at least for this week, likely till after Christmas. If I had my bet, Oilers, Leafs, it's going to be a good one. You got a lot of skill power. We'll hear from Connor McDavid. We got Dave Tippett teed up. No Zach Hyman tonight. Big loss for the Oilers. Duncan Keith is questionable. He did practice today. But the big question, what should the NHL do about their battles with COVID? Brad Marchand goes on the list. Vancouver, Luke Schen's on the list for them now. It's kind of getting out of hand. If we're going to be honest here, it has gotten out of hand in the NFL. And now for NHL players, you kind of see it where it's like, hey, sure that there's 95% vaccinated. Tyler Bertuzzi, I know he's unvaccinated, got COVID. I think he's back in the lineup now. What do you do? What do you do at this point? Do you play through it? Is that even an option? I mean, if they're asymptomatic, do you give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're going to recover? I'm interested to hear hockey fans' thoughts on this one. It's Cody Jansen, World Hockey Report. We got Oilers, Leafs tonight. Other games on the docket since there was none last night. We'll quickly rip through them. If you had a score prediction, let us know, of course. Winner gets a Pro Rock hockey stick. I want to know, what's the final score? Who scores the game winner? Let us know that. You got a chance to win a Pro Rock hockey stick. Join the conversation anytime. 12-Ounce Sports, Facebook, and YouTube. On the schedule tonight, NHL hockey, you got Vegas, Boston, LA, Tampa, Ottawa, Florida, New Jersey, Philly, Montreal, Pittsburgh. Those all start at 5 o'clock Alberta time. 5:30, New York Islanders versus the Detroit Red Wings. Red Wings favored there. They're minus 125 on the money line. Who would have thought that before the season? You got a Detroit Isles game, and Detroit's favored. I had the Isles going to the Stanley Cup. That ain't going to work. I saw it today, and I don't have the standings right in front of me, but an Oilers loss and a Jets win would put the Oilers out of a playoff spot. That's crazy to think about. I know, we're just past American Thanksgiving. We're almost at Christmas. Not exactly time to panic. That's crazy for the Oilers, who were the best team in the NHL at one point in time. Coming up at 6 o'clock tonight, you got Carolina, Minnesota, Buffalo, Winnipeg. 6:30, you got St. Louis, Dallas. 7 o'clock, you got the Rangers in Colorado, Toronto, Edmonton. 8 o'clock, you got Columbus, Vancouver. 8:30, Seattle, San Jose. Decent job staggering it. If you got to give the NHL credit for one thing, it's that right there. Not how they're dealing with COVID. So for the Canucks, it was Luke Schenn. It was Juho Lammikko. Never heard of the kid. Never heard of the kid. If we're being just fully honest right now, the Canucks are on a heater. Also, I do got to give a shout out. Ben Bishop, he's announced his retirement from professional hockey at the age of 35. Played parts of 11 NHL seasons, of course, with St. Louis, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, LA, and Dallas, putting up 221 wins. That's pretty impressive, and a save percentage of .921 over his career. Now, this is the insane stat. That's third all-time, only behind Dominic Hasek and Ken Dryden. Different eras, of course, but again, doesn't have as many rings as Patrick Waugh. It's kind of a hit or miss stat, but again, a .921 is in his career over 11 seasons. That's incredible. It sucks that he can't get healthy. It sucks that he can't come back. End of the day, I think that's a career that you can hang your hat on and say, hey, I'm pretty damn proud of what I've accomplished. So I think we all deserve a little round of applause. Goes out towards Ben Bishop today. Elsewhere in the NHL, I guess not exactly NHL, but former NHLer news, Jeremy Colleton. He's been added as an assistant coach for the Spangler Cup. We went off pretty much everything. World Juniors. Here's your first practice since the Cuts Per Mark Masters. Of course, he's going to be your go-to guy, your 3 goaltenders. Goran Kosabroshu, absent Kent Johnson. He's still out. Hey, we're going to hope to get a couple of these guys on here later this week. It's going to be awesome shows to talk about. Your defense, you got Fort Saskatchewan product, Olin Zellweger up with Owen Power. That's a wagon of a top unit. Power's sick. I mean, this kid's nasty. He's a first overall pick for a reason. But Zellweger's pretty underrated. If you watch him in Everett, you'll know what I'm talking about. But this kid buzzes around on the ice. He's awesome. Caden Gooley with Cormier, Sabrango, Lambos, O'Rourke, and Seeley are your last pairings. Up front, right centering Perfetti and Gunther, Edmonton Oil King right there. McTavish with Stankoven, Denoy, Neighbors, Greg, Surdiff. You got Bork between Coyle and Borgo. Borgo is going to play the wing here, assumedly. That he's not going to be centering. Maybe he'll be a fill-in. Maybe he'll take some draws here and there. And then you got Connor Bedard as your 13th forward. So he cracks the team. Can he crack the lineup? that's a different story. I guess we'll see. These pre-tournament games are going to be big. And an interesting comment before we get to Connor McDavid's thoughts on the Oilers and Leafs tonight. He had this for Connor Bedard on some advice. He said, I'd stay off social media. Can be a little bit negative. Yeah, would probably agree with that, Connor. He also talked about the game tonight, so let's get to it. It's Oilers-Leafs, 7 o'clock, right here at Rogers Place in Alberta's capital.
What when you're in the middle of a losing streak like you are right now, how do you balance kind of the frustration of being in that place with also knowing that you got to have some positive energy to get where you want to go?
Well, I mean, you obviously want to be more positive than the other one. Obviously we're not happy with how the last stretch of games have gone. The only way out of it is to play better and to win games. So that's obviously the main focus.
The Leafs had some success against you here last year, and I know it's somewhat different teams in a different year. But is there a style that you absolutely need to play against this core group that works better?
Yeah, they were a good team last year. They're a good team again this year. They have great forwards. Their goalie's been playing well. Their back end's solid too. So, they're a good team, and it's going to take a good effort from us to get it done.
Connor, we don't know right now about Zach Hyman, but just a thought on what he's brought your team and maybe the energy level and their work rate that he consistently, if you can maybe speak to that a bit.
Yeah, he's obviously a guy that brings it each and every night. You're going to get out of Hymes, and he's come in and he's done everything that he's been asked, and he's been a great addition for our group both on and off the ice.
McDavid there speaking. Obviously, we know now Hyman is not going to play tonight. Duncan Keith is in, or likely in. Going to be paired with Cody Ceci again. This is all likely. That's going to happen. Got to get the green light from the doctors first, though, which I am not a doctor. Still to come on the show today, Tyler Kuhl is going to come up. Oh, it says 12:30 on there. That's a mistake, producer. We're going to have to get someone fired on that. Should be 12:20. Tyler Kuhl is going to come up. We'll talk college hockey. I know he's seen everything in the great state of Michigan, plus, he's the voice of Western Michigan. So awesome to catch up with him. Once again, longtime friend of the show. And then Stephen Ellis. He's just a hockey guru. This guy knows everything about everything. You've probably read his work, heard him on the hockey news. He's all over. He's doing CBC, CTV hits around World Junior time. Let me love him. He's coming up at 12:40 Alberta time. Big news out of the World Juniors today, though I forgot to mention this earlier. We will get back to Oilers-Leafs preview. Aatu Räty, he's unavailable for Finland at the World Juniors due to recent COVID-19 cases in Jokerit. That's his team in the Liga, Finland's top league there. So he's unable to participate. And the NHLers going to the Olympics seems to be pretty unlikely right now. Just nothing's going in their favor. It's, you got the quarantine rules coming up that they could have to, quarantine for 3 weeks, 5 weeks if they test positive. It's outrageous at this point. And I know for a fact that the Olympics want NHLers there, but if they can't get government approval to sway some of these rules, it's not happening. And how it's not happening is absolutely beyond me. It's China. It's like a communist country. They can just make rules on the fly and no one's going to hold any standards to them. So why wouldn't they just adjust the rules for NHL players? Is it because it's unfair to other Olympians? Well, hey, other Olympians, you ain't bringing in pennies compared to these guys. NHLers and hockey is what makes the Olympics money. It's the biggest TV deal. It's what everyone wants to watch in North America. So yes, change the damn rules if you want NHLers at the Olympics. It's that simple because as it stands right now, they're not going. And that's, we got sources. There's NHL players who have said, hey, I'm not going. If these are the COVID rules, I'm just not going. And these are big name players here that aren't going to the Olympics this year if rules don't change. You got to assume the IOC is going to adjust on the fly. I guess we'll find out if they do. Oilers, Leafs. The Leafs have had the Oilers number here. They've been a tough test for them of past. But one of my favorite moments, that Connor McDavid goalie embarrasses Morgan Rielly, scores on Michael Hutchinson. But in this one, and yes, injuries play a part, and how hot the Leafs have played a part, the Leafs are the favorite. The Oilers are a home dog. It's a Tuesday night in Edmonton, and the Oilers are a home dog. Here's Dave Tippett.
You're the only team left in the league that's undefeated when you score first. So Captain Obvious says it's important for you guys to do it. But do you notice a difference in how your team plays if you score first?
Yeah, the team that scores first, you get momentum in the game first. You know, we've had some times where we feel like we've had momentum and not scored, and all of a sudden it goes the other way. You know, we get like the other night where we feel like we're starting all right, and all of a sudden take a penalty and it goes against us. Now you're chasing the game, and especially when you're not scoring or things haven't gone as well as you like, it puts extra burden on your mind. You got to get out there and get going, right? You get a lead, you play more confident. Your team plays more confident all the way through. Everybody, it seems like all the lines become factors in when you have a lead. When you're chasing, you get erratic.
And that comes down to your goaltending, right? So let's take a look at the tail of the pipes here. Mikko Koskinen, he's 12-5 this season, 305 goals against average, 907 save percentage. And he's going up against Jack Campbell, who's 14-5-2. He's got a 199 goals against average and a 935 save percentage with 3 shutouts. Clearly, that's why they're favored. They're better in net. Frankly, I think they've been better 5-on-5 offensively than the Oilers. And to be brutal about it, the past week and a half, 2 weeks for the Oilers hasn't been pretty. They are not looking like the top team in the NHL that they were at the start of the season. The power play's gone a little cold here, and I guess this is per Caesars Sportsbook. 70% of the money line bets are going towards Edmonton here, and 78% of the under 6 is going under. Interesting. I think it could be a high-scoring one. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 4-2 game, 5-3. Maybe I'll wait for that over-under to drop down to 6. Maybe try and get it at 5.5. If it keeps going, 78% of the money going there. That's a lot. Obviously, Toronto 1.5. That's a plus 180 if you're thinking Leafs on the puck line. Alrighty. We got to get off to a commercial break here right away. But before that, here's an interesting quote from Bill Daly, and I'll leave it here because I want you to join the conversation as well on 12 Ounce Sports Facebook, YouTube. Let me know your thoughts. What should the NHL do about their COVID issues right now? Here's what Bill Daly had to say, quote, "The vaccine itself is preventing against serious illness. While we have players under the weather for several days, they're not getting sick like they got last year, and that's a direct effect from being fully vaccinated." So they're not getting sick like they were in previous years because they're vaccinated. That's what the vaccine's supposed to do. So do you let them play through it? Do you say, hey, you played through mumps, whatever the NHL was going through. Do we, kind of suck it up and let players play through it? Or is that not the right thing to do? If they're not seriously sick, can they play hockey through it safely if precautions are taken? I don't know. You let me know. Join the conversation. It's Cody Jansen, World Hockey Report. We are coming to you live from the Pro Rock Broadcast Studios in beautiful Alberta. Follow me on Twitter at January31_ and the show at World Hockey RPT. All right, I got to get out of here for a break. Bryce is going to be pissed. Producer, let's get out of here. We're coming back with Tyler Kuehl, play-by-play voice. He's the host of Locked On Caps as well. It's Cody Jansen, World Hockey Report, presented by Lord Auto Parts.
Follow Team Canada with Sports Travel Tours in their bid to win back-to-back World Championships. Canada will play all their games in beautiful Helsinki, Finland, and will face Switzerland, Germany, and Russia. Sports Travel Tour packages include a fantastic hotel, all transfers, amazing game tickets, a tour host, as well as a pre-game party. Check out the official World Championship packages at sportstraveltours.com.
Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point's scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any NFL team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets if they score. You can score with promo code THPN this week week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What we do here is go back.
Alrighty, it's World Hockey Report. Cody Jansen with you, and we are presented by Lordco Auto Parts. So visit Lordco's in-store truck centers at select locations today. New store in Edmonton. It's on Calgary Trail Northwest. Don't forget to go there. Doors are open 7 days a week. View store hours and services at lordco.com. We'll now snap it over to the great state of Michigan. Our friend, play-by-play voice, host of Locked On Caps. He's been calling NCAA Div 1 games this season. And you know what? It's World Junior season, so we're just going to pick his brain on everything. It's Tyler Kuehl joining the show. And Tyler, I really didn't expect to even talk to you about this even a matter of a couple hours ago, but COVID continues to run rampant on the NHL. I want your thoughts. What does the NHL have to do? That's been the conversation going this morning, but how do you control it? What should they do? Is it fine to say keep playing if you're vaccinated? Do you shut it down for 3 weeks and hope to get it under control? What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Cody, thanks for having me back on here. It's good to be talking with the television voice of the Saskatchewan Rush of the NLL.
And radio. I got to throw that in there.
Oh, and radio. So you do everything there for the Rush. It's just like you always do there, Cody. You do everything.
Swiss Army knife.
Exactly. But the thing is with COVID here, and this is tough, right? And I'll be honest, today is my day after getting my booster shot. So I don't want to say I'm totally under the weather, but I have not been feeling great today. Just because of the after effects and the side effects of it. But, you know, I've really thought about that because I heard your point there, and I heard Bill Daly's quote that you mentioned right before we went to break. And I really thought about it, you know, should they continue to play? And the problem is that, you know, because only Bertuzzi's vaccinated. And I remember I was listening to 32 Thoughts yesterday with Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman. And they mentioned how there's only one American League player also that's unvaccinated. And, you know, the problem is like, what if it gets to the point where it's out of control? You know, if there's so many COVID cases where like 75% of the league has it, right? Like that's the one hard thing, because and something we've also seen is with these positive tests is that players can have COVID without really having COVID, or without really having like the symptoms and whatnot, is what I probably should specify. And that's really something that's going to be that you would have to really think about is, you know, because some, you know, I mean, you go on a smaller illness, some people can be carrying a flu bug around or cold and they wouldn't really be showing symptoms. They would just pass it along. You know, that would be a tricky line to go on right now. And I think right now the NHL is just trying to figure out how to get through this season with current protocols that it has. And I don't know if they want to change it right now. Obviously with the Olympics coming up, it's a big deal. So, you know, I think at some point it's going to come to that where, you know what, if you have COVID, perfect. At least we have the vaccines to make sure that you're not going to be terminally ill or have any real massive effects from the illness and the virus. But right now, Jana, it's really tough to say that eventually, you know, or at least in the short term, that we're going to say, yeah, just let them play.
I would definitely agree with that. Jack chimes in here, says there's really nothing you can do other than canceling games if a team has too many cases. And that's the inconsistencies have come in when, you know, they'll cancel some Islanders games and Vegas has to play through it, or they'll cancel Flames games and other teams are playing through it. There's a lot of inconsistencies right now like that. So I think you kind of got to put some hard, fast rules in here. Interesting. Brad Brad Treliving is speaking right now, and his quote is, "People are doing well so far, and guys are doing good." Doesn't know what strain of COVID they've got right now, so unsure if it's a variant. I guess that does play some part into this here with, the Omicron. They're talking about, maybe teams are going to have to play with empty buildings and stuff like that. That sucks, but the trickle-down effect, and we talked about it earlier, is the Olympics, Tyler. I'm not convinced they're going. I've heard from multiple players these are guys who are stars in the NHL, that they're not going if, they don't change the rules, because to miss 3 weeks of NHL games or up to 5 weeks, and you combine that with the actual games themselves of 2 weeks, probably closer to 3 with all the travel, you can't just take 2 months off the NHL. That's what you're there to do. That's what you get paid the big bucks for. Not everyone's getting Olympic endorsements. Like, I'm sure a Connor McDavid can probably bring in $1 million in endorsements just for going to the Olympics and doing that stuff. Not everyone's getting that. So I don't think they're going. I think it's unfortunate, but I don't think we're seeing NHLers there.
That's something that's really been touch and go over the last couple of days. And it seems like every time you bring up, like someone says, this player's on the list. Brad Marchand's on the COVID list. How is this going to affect the Olympics? Because unfortunately, until January 10th is the day they have to make the decision, or sometime early next month. When that day comes, that'll be when we have the official idea. I mean, everyone's saying that the idea is that the league wants the players to go. They do not want to be the ones making the decision. But to your point, you're right. If the players know that they're going to be missing 3 to 5 weeks, where the NHL will not be paying those players if they have to miss time because of COVID-19, if they get it from the Olympics, that's obviously something that's going to be sitting in the back of their minds. And, players are really considering that. They're really thinking about it. And do we want to go see them play? Sure. Do they want to play? Sure. I spoke with John Walton, the radio voice of the Capitals. It's not like Washington has a short of players that are hoping to go to Beijing here. Ovechkin, Samsonov, maybe one of the Russian goaltenders, Vitek Vanacek's probably going to play for the Czechs. There's going to be a few guys on that team are going to probably want to go, but even he's kind of at this point turned a little pessimistic on the players heading overseas.
And we're just getting this one breaking right now. The Canes and Wild game is going to be postponed tonight. This is via sources right now. The Canes, they had 4 additional positive tests. I should specify there. So, again, another game knocked off the docket. So I think we're at 11 tonight. So hopefully you can find
Is that the Kings or the Wild having to postpone?
The Canes.
The Canes.
Carolina. Good
But
pronunciation by the host, eh? Hot start.
Kings. The Kings are playing the Kings, and they're playing. No, Carolina. It's tough because, of course, Sebastian Aho and a couple other players and staff had to stay in Vancouver when they came back because of positive tests. So that's obviously still, like you said, it's an evolving and very fluid situation.
Tyler, let's talk about you now, though. I've seen you been doing some pretty cool stuff. We're play-by-play voices here, and you're calling Western Michigan games. That's unreal, man, because I know how hard you work at it. I know how much time and effort you've put into it as well, from, calling a lot of games for free, likely calling high school games, working on your craft, talking to, play-by-play voices and just focusing on it. So how cool has it been for you to, finally be calling some incredible hockey games like NCAA D1? That's an incredible level of hockey that you're getting to call. So what's that experience been like for you and going on some of those trips?
Well, I can tell you, I have to say, first of all, thanks to Robin Hook. Robin, who is the main play-by-play voice of Western Michigan hockey, football, and basketball. That guy, you talk about how you're a Swiss Army knife. This guy calls so many different sports. It's crazy, Cody. And he was giving me an opportunity whenever he's busy with other sports or does not feel like taking a 16-hour bus trip in the middle of nowhere, upstate New York. But it's been fun. It's the players are really cool. Pat Ferschweiler, who actually worked, who's on Jeff Blashill's staff with the Detroit Red Wings for a short time. Get to hear some fun stories about that. Not too many for air, unfortunately. But the players, and the crazy part is too, I'm seeing a lot of players here. I mean, they have Ronnie Yaddard, who's a really good defenseman for Western, who is a Philadelphia Flyers prospect, big 6'3". He's only a junior. Ethan Frank is one of the best goal scorers in the country. He's going to be a guy that may get picked up by a pro team at the end of the season. Like there's a lot of, it's fun. It's, you get to go to different barns, and for those who have never been to Kalamazoo to go to Lawson on a Friday night or Saturday night for Western Michigan hockey, it's an experience. So, and you're right above the Lawson Lunatics, the student section there, and they're dropping every F-bomb you can think of, and have to try to apologize to the FCC about every period. But you know what? It's a great experience, and hopefully it can continue building from there.
I caught some of your call against Denver, I believe it was. You were there a month ago or so, right?
Yeah,
that sounded awesome. Hey, how did Carter Savoy look? This is a guy who I think it's kind of embarrassing that Canada left him off the roster the way this guy can put the pill back in the net. Like, was he not that impressive? Like, this is a guy who has a lot of scoring potential, and in a tournament like the World Juniors, you got to be able to score.
You know, the crazy part is with him, because I was shocked too, because I even said it on my broadcast. I said, like, this guy, he's probably going to be playing for Team Canada. He had a little bit of a slow start to the year, and that was kind of the crazy part. I said to myself, okay, I mean, he had a couple of big games against like Air Force and Arizona State, but I'm like, he went kind of over when he went up against like North Dakota. Yeah, those don't count at all. But then all of a sudden he puts up 5 points in the 2 games against the Broncos, and I was like, this guy's pretty good. And, it's crazy. You mentioned, Team Canada's emissions, and, for the Washington Capitals, I got to follow Hendrix Lapierre getting onto the opening night roster, scoring in his first NHL game while Wayne Gretzky was trying to interrupt it on the TNT broadcast. But the fact that, I thought, oh, cool, a guy with NHL experience, he's a shoo-in to go on Team Canada. Well, unfortunately, he wasn't able to. Vincent Iorio is another good prospect. I mean, you look at that roster too, Cody. How hard is it to get on that Team Canada roster? I mean, the talent pool, especially up front, is very hard. And it's one of those things I'm pretty sure the folks at Hockey Canada said it's not more or less, the talent pool. It's more or less who can play well together, right? I think that's something, because this is not just, let's get the best all-star Team Canada here. Let's get a team that can win a gold medal, because there's a lot of sour notes still after the loss in Edmonton last year.
But that's my point, and why not have Savoy where when they're not winning gold, it's seemingly because, A, they're either not able to score or they don't have the goaltending. This year, I think they got the goaltending. I don't know if they can score. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing against, your Gunthers, your Perfettis, your McTavishes. When I think of them, I don't think of pure goal scorers. I think of Connor Bedard as more of a pure goal scorer. Perfetti's obviously going to put the puck in the net. Gunther can as well. But I don't know. I've got a hard time with them, leaving guys like Lapierre, leaving guys like Savoy off the roster. One player, actually 2 players, I guess. They're both Michigan guys. I can ask you at the same time. You can give me 2 thoughts at once. I know you can handle that. It's Kent Johnson and Owen Power. They're Michigan products. They're 2 NCAA guys playing in Canada with the World Juniors here in Edmonton. I'm excited to watch those 2. Those are probably the 2 guys who, outside of Connor Bedard and Shane Wright, I've got my eye on the most.
These 2 guys, Ken Johnson, I don't know if he was mad that he was picked after Matty Beniers in the draft last year or what, but he has come out playing inspired, and he's really developed into a exceptional playmaker. He has the scoring touch. He can certainly put the puck in the back of the net himself, but he's found a way to set up other guys. And of course, Brendan Brisson, who's been a real good addition here for the University of Michigan. He has 11 goals. He's played a lot with Kent Johnson. Thomas Bordeleau has also been a key part as well. And Johnson and Beniers most of the time play on the same line. So you can thank a lot of the 11 goals that Beniers has this year. He has 22 points. Ken Johnson's tied for the team lead with Owen Power with 23 points, but 19 assists. Like, he's really dynamic. And you mentioned Owen Power. I know there was a whole hoopla of, does he really want to go to Buffalo? Is that why he's staying in Michigan? I still have under the impression that he wanted to actually have a legit college year. It's for being around Ann Arbor, going to University of Michigan football games. It's an experience to be a student at the University of Michigan. Owen Power didn't get that last year. Couldn't go to football games. Couldn't go to other sporting events. Couldn't go to, I don't know. Do I say house parties? I'm pretty sure Mel Pearson doesn't want to hear me say that, but you pretty much know that, the guys, let's be real here. These kids are adults in even the United States, and Power has been just a dynamic player. I think personally his defensive game needs a little bit of work. Maybe that's why it's okay he stayed back for another year. He's a very offensively gifted defenseman. I think if you give him time, he can develop on the blue line, on the back end in his own zone, and that'll only make him more of a complete player when he does make the jump to the NHL.
I think that's a pretty fair breakdown right there. Tyler Cool, my guest. It's World Hockey Report presented by Lordco Auto Parts. Hey, last one for you. I got to ask about the Americans. What's this team looking like from your perspective? Is there anyone we should be keeping an eye on? To be frank with you, Tyler, when I go up and down this roster, there's kind of a lot of guys I don't have that good of a read on. Like, there's some players I am excited to see, and it mostly starts with their back end, but let's be real, their offensive group doesn't have any names that super scare you.
Yeah, Chris Peters was on with Andrew Berkshire on our Crosscheck NHL show over on our Lockdown Network, and he said that this could be a down year for the U.S., which is still a crazy thing to say, given the fact that I'm not saying that their pool is going to be a light one or be an easy one to go through, but this is going to be a very interesting setup here. And I think the biggest thing is the goaltending this year will be a little bit different for the U.S. Spencer Knight no longer there. And, of course, they had Dustin Wolf backing him up last year. That's a pretty good tandem when you have Dustin Wolf backing up Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight now in the National Hockey League, of course. Probably be seeing Drew Comesso be the number one goaltender from Boston University, even though he's kind of having a shaky start there with the Terriers. But, I know that, head coach of this hockey team is Nate Lehman going into Edmonton here, or excuse me, Red Deer is where the U.S. is going to be starting off at. But why is Mel Pearson not coaching this team? The amount of Michigan players is ridiculous. Even this whole tournament. You look at the back end, of course, you have Luke Hughes, who is already drafted by the New Jersey Devils. You have Matty Beniers, and you have Mackie Samoskevich. This team is littered with Wolverine talent. And, team mentioned up front, they're going to have a little bit of trouble, but I think they have some guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. Sasha Passagov is having a great year with Guelph in the Ontario League. Declan McDonald as well with Kitchener. Carter Mazer, talking about Denver, I got to see him firsthand. Boy, he's a freshman right now, and if he develops there for a couple of years, he's going to be something. He's a Detroit Red Wings prospect, and I'm pretty sure Stevie Yzerman's looking at him like, see, we got the kid from Jackson, Michigan right down the road, and he's going to be great. That's not how Steve Yzerman sounds, but you know what I mean. But they're going to be competitive still. You're right. On the back end, outside of maybe Jake Sanderson and Jacob Truscott, Luke Hughes, it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's hard to say. It's hard not to say though that this team could have a chance to get a medal. I don't. It's same thing with Canada. Canada expects gold no matter who's on their roster and whatnot. The Americans, they still expect to be there in the top three, and they have the talent. It's just execution, and maybe starting off in Red Deer may make it a little bit easier for the red, white, and blue.
I don't mind that breakdown, I guess. It kind of gives me a little bit more optimism for the Americans than I had before. So
we don't want optimism though, right?
I thought we didn't want a fun tournament. I'm just hoping we get there before COVID gets here in a big way. I hope we can just get through the tournament, and then after that, whatever. Then we can go into lockdown for a week or two. I really don't care after that. But give me the World Juniors, and give me the World Juniors at its finest. Tyler Kuehl, my guest here on World Hockey Report. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I hope everything's going good with Locked On Caps. I hope you get to call some more games. Definitely we'll stay in touch. And, hey, maybe we'll get you on, during or after the tournament as well to talk about the American team, since you clearly know them a lot damn better than I do.
Well, it helped that I had a couple hours of time to study for it, but no, yeah, it'll be absolutely, Cody. I may be doing something myself too on the Locked On Network, but I don't know anything for sure yet. Just fingers crossed. So we'll definitely keep in touch, Janet. You take care.
Love it, buddy. Take care. We'll talk soon. Tyler Kuehl right there joining me on World Hockey Report. Already off to a commercial here. When we come back, it's Stephen Ellis, more World Junior talk. It's that time of year, and you're watching World Hockey Report. We are presented by Lord Auto Parts. Back after the break.
Follow Team Canada with Sports Travel Tours in their bid to win back-to-back World Championships. Canada will play all their games in beautiful Helsinki, Finland, and will face Switzerland, Germany, and Russia. Sports Travel Tour packages includes a fantastic hotel, all transfers, amazing game tickets, a tour host, as well as a pre-game party. Check out the official World Championship packages at sportstraveltours.com.
Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any NFL team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets if they score. You can score with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
here is go back.
World Hockey Report is presented by Lordco Auto Parts. Find a store near you at lordco.com. Cody Jansen with you live today from the Pro Rock Broadcast Studios in beautiful Alberta. Follow me on Twitter at Janner31 and the show at World Hockey RPT. And don't forget Sports Travel Tours. They're going to take you to beautiful Finland for the 2022 World Championships. The great people at Sports Travel Tours, they want to hook you up. They have the best packages available at sportstraveltours.com. Go check them out today. World Juniors, that's coming up T-minus 11 days. Something like that, maybe 12 days until Boxing Day. So we got to get the expert on himself. Stephen Ellis, great articles up on the Hockey News right now. So we figured we'd bring him on the show to break down Team Canada. And Stephen, I guess first when I'll talk about some of the omissions, the two that really surprised me, Hendrix Lapierre won. I think a lot of people talk about Brandt Clarke, but a guy who is completely off the radar, it seems, is Carter Savoie down at Denver. So when you see a couple of names left off the roster like that, do you think that they're left off because they're just not able to gel? Do you think they can't bring the chemistry? They don't play together well with other guys? What do you see when you see some pretty damn good hockey players left off the roster?
Well, Canada does not struggle in the skill department. So there's a lot of guys who could do a lot of the same things. So when Hockey Canada's looking at this, they're saying, okay, we've got like 5 or 6 guys who can all just be pure goal scorers, but maybe are not strong defensively. Well, they may look for guys who maybe not as good offensively, but are more reliable in their own zone. So there's kind of the mix of that. Obviously, Brandt Clarke's submission just doesn't make sense from a hockey perspective. There was stories of how he's not good defensively. Well, like that's not true, or that he can't run a power play correctly. Well, like that's one of his biggest strengths. So that also is not true. But when you look at a guy like Hendrix Lapierre, that one's a big surprise because he actually had NHL action this year. But he simply put, he did not play well enough in camp. Going back and rewatching the games, and it was hard to really find a part where I'm like, yeah, he needs to be there. And it's tough because like when you look at like last year's camp, and obviously last year's camp was much different. They had a much longer period of time to kind of prepare for this. They only had 2 exhibition games to play. So you really had to be good when it mattered. So a couple of those guys are tough. In Carter Savoie's case, again, this is someone who seems to be kind of almost off Hockey Canada's radar every year. He should have been there. The offensive numbers are definitely worthy of him being there, but I don't know if I would love him on a 4th-line role, and there's some other guys that'll be there, and there's enough skill to kind of make up the top 6. So it's just kind of like there's just almost too much talent to choose from. That's a really good situation to be in. Canada seems to be like the one country where most of the talk when a roster announces who didn't make it, as opposed to every other country where it's like, let's look at what we actually have.
That's fair. And for Russia, they also left off a couple of big pieces. And the one, obviously, being in Alberta, is Jan Kuznetsov on the Russian team. He's a Calgary Flames prospect. They also don't have a single right-handed shot player on their team. Have you ever seen this at a World Juniors or international tournament in general? Because I don't think I can't name a single team that doesn't have a right-handed shot. Like, I don't remember ever playing on that. Maybe if I was in, like, initiation or when I was, like, 5 or 6, maybe we did. But, like, I don't remember this in normal times.
We'll see, like, Canada's got that same situation this year in defense, which is really strange.
But that's on defense. That's not the entire team.
Yeah, but that's what's – so, like, we thought that was weird. I've never been one to kind of say, okay, we need to have a certain number of guys shooting one way or another. But it's that is so weird that it's one position. And the other thing that I've just never really fully understand is how many, like, right-handed people shoot left, where it just seems like that just doesn't make sense by convention. But anyways, yeah, this is so weird. We've never seen this at any major event. I don't think we've ever seen that at the NHL, and it's just a weird time.
Here's some breaking news as well. This is coming from Mark Spector. Ryan McLeod is a possible positive COVID test in Edmonton. Confirmation still to come. I think he was out of morning skate today, so that's some big news if you're an Oilers fan. Obviously, no Hyman tonight, and Keith still a question mark. We're joined by Stephen Ellis right now. It's World Hockey Report, presented by Lordco Auto Parts. Now let's talk about Team Canada. Obviously, Kent Johnson, he's still out. He's still in his quarantine period. But today, Connor Bedard, he was listed as the 13th forward. He played his way onto this roster, to be blunt, but do you think he actually cracks the lineup when games start to matter? Oh, we might have lost our friend Stephen Ellis right there. We'll try and connect with him in a little bit here. Now it's official. Right now, the Edmonton Oilers, they've placed forward Ryan McLeod in COVID protocol. Spectre, he tweeted that out obviously a little bit before the team, so he got that one. We'll get Steven's thoughts on the NHL and their COVID protocol in a little bit. Looks like we lost him there. Maybe he had other things to do. That's all right. We got a lot to talk about. Oh, we got him coming right back on the show. So there we go. Looks like we got Steven back live on the show. Obviously, now it's just confirmed Ryan McLeod's going on the COVID list for the Oilers. Minnesota, Carolina, that's obviously postponed for tonight. But speaking of Canada, I want your thoughts on Bedard there, Steven.
Yeah, sorry about that. But with Bedard, he's someone where obviously he played well enough. He had 6 points. He was the only guy who had more than 2 points for camp. But we just know in this tournament is like that was a great 2 games. But I still think Canada's going to lean on their older players, their experience. So naturally, yeah, we are going to probably see Bedard play limited minutes. And my thing here is I just hope we don't see like what they did with like Quinton Byfield in his first year, where they like barely played him at all. You know what? But Bedard's going to bring a lot to this talent, to this tournament and this team. He's got a lot of talent. That's not a concern. But again, there's just so many other guys in that same position. We know in the World Juniors, historically, teams like to rely on their older players. But the fact that he made the team, I think that's it. He had to work much harder than pretty much any other player in the tournament. So he's done a good enough job to deserve where he is. And I just don't think he's going to play a huge role.
Steven, who's your 1-2 punch between the pipes this year?
If I'm going with this, I know a lot of people are talking. Is it going to be Grant? Is it going to be Kosa? But I'm going Kosa. I think he's simply the better goalie. He's Grant did play in this tournament last year, but he played 1 period against Germany, so not exactly a lot of hockey out there. But Grant's been the best goalie in the WHL, so it's hard to say no to him right now. But I think if you got to look at who you would want in a 1-game winner-takes-all situation, I think Kosa is the better option there. So those are the 2 guys there. But a great story for Brent Brochu, who just a couple years ago, in his first year of NHL draft eligibility, he was playing Junior B. He's playing lower level hockey. So actually, maybe it was even Junior C. Like he was not playing anywhere near what you would expect a goalie would need to do to make Team Canada. So good story there. But I think it's going to be the 2 Western guys battling it out there.
I do believe he went Junior C to the London Knights, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I don't have Hockey DB open in front of me, but I think you're bang on with that one. So Canada's obviously the favorite on paper, but who's the second best team here? Is it the Americans? Is it the Russians? You know, the Russians left off some pretty good names, as we already talked about, but who's your silver medalist right now on paper?
I think we're still going for the Americans. They're a little weak in center and maybe not the greatest goaltending, but I still think this is a group that you can always rely on their chemistry of all these guys that have played at the U17, U18 level before, coming back together and doing this. I think they got a good shot. I like Team Sweden. Having William Eklund and Alex Holt is actually huge. Of course, though, putting any money on Sweden is typically a mistake based off of their last decade or so. But those guys are going to be good. I think Finland's got if Aatu Raty can play, and right now that's in question due to COVID, I think that would be a huge bonus. So I think we're still going to see the top teams. It would almost be like if Russia goes out to make the final, that would be a surprise because it doesn't look like the best team they could have possibly brought. But at the same time, we know Matvei Michkov continues to blow people's minds and just the way he plays against older competition. Maybe he goes on an absolute tear and really helps Russia. So I still say Canada, USA right now, but I really like Sweden, where I think those 3 teams are the ones going for a medal if it all works out.
Now, I think Matvei Michkov is obviously a super skilled player, but he's doing it at the MHL level, and everyone, you know, we know that the MHL isn't the WHL. It's not major junior hockey, and it's not even the VHL for that fact. So I think that there's still a little bit of pumping the brakes that we got to do on him. That's my opinion, obviously. Does Yaroslav Askarov scare you at all in goal? Because he doesn't, I mean, from everyone I've talked to, he's obviously a good goaltender, but this isn't an intimidating goaltender. This isn't someone who you're going, oh, he's going to steal the tournament for the Russians this year. And that's kind of, you know, frankly weird that he's not getting talked about when this is a top 10 draft pick goaltender.
I think maybe the only reason we're not talking about him so much is this is his 3rd go around with the team. So it's like we kind of like a Spencer Knight. You kind of just know he's there.
But Spencer Knight had all the hype being like, this guy has a chance to steal it. He had a terrible start, obviously, to the tournament, but then he kind of locked it in and you're like, oh yeah, that's Spencer Knight. I'm not hearing that about Askarov.
That could also just be the markets, like obviously one being the United States, one being Russia. Here we'll hear a lot more about one or the other. But I'd say like with Askarov, this is a guy that, yeah, he can be very shaky. And we saw last year he didn't have a good World Junior tournament, but then he was outstanding in the Karjala Cup against pro players. And he's only played the one men's team game, I believe, this year and didn't look too good in it. But I think this is someone who's now looking back from the last time he played at the World Juniors last year, that he's got a lot more experience against better players, more experience against men, or experience with pro players. I still am very confident in what he could do. We know that when he's hot, he's so hard to beat. Now that this is his third time, he's the undisputed number one. He just got to play his game. I do feel like he'll be one of the top goalies this year, but if he goes out and has another bad tournament, I think a lot more questions will be asked.
You're so nice, Steven. You would never say a bad thing about anyone. That's what I love about you. He's one
of my favorite goalie prospects, so I have to say.
Steven. Hey, just going back to Askarov here, you mentioned the Karjala Cup, and that's obviously experience against men, but obviously Russia has the best roster on paper at those events too. Is it a little concerning when you look at Russia's goaltending and a lot of their super successful goaltenders at the tournament? When you look at your Samsonov, I think Vasilevsky as well, they were playing KHL full-time at the age of 19 or whatever their final year of World Junior eligibility was. Does it scare you a little bit that Askarov's still not a full-time KHL guy?
No, not at all. And that's part of it just because the goalies they got there, it's kind of hard to steal the starts in Scott St. Petersburg, because you look at it and Lars Johansson's a fantastic goalie. Alexander Samonov, there's some attention to him of maybe he was going to get some NHL love because the stats were pretty good at a young age. So I'm not too worried.
So if you're saying he was in a worse market, even if he was, take him out of the SKA market, do you think he's a full-timer on other KHL teams? Do you think he's probably a 60% guy on other teams?
I do believe so.
Okay.
If not 60, we're still talking a big chunk of the games. A lot of scouts that I know out there really believe that he'd be much better on a team that wasn't a championship contender.
Who's the doormat of the tournament this year? Is it Germany? Am I safe to say that? Because seeing the players that they turned over, Steven, I don't know how this team's going to compete.
It definitely is not the best team. If I'm picking a team that's coming last, it is going to be Austria and
fair.
Germany and Austria. They got to play each other anyway, so it's just kind of who wins that game. I'm excited to see Sebastian Ranicich. I believe he's he was so much fun to watch last year.
Yeah, but he had one or two huge performances, right?
He was very good in a couple games, but then he went out and got a contract to go play with the Victoria Royals and absolutely got slaughtered in his games. So I kind of hope for the best there, but he'll be Austria's most important player. But in total, he's only played 3 competitive games this year. So this is a guy who's going to be pretty cold going in, but he's going to be, in my opinion, the most important goalie for one of the most important players on that team outside of Marco Kasper, the 2023 or 2022 draft player. Sorry. So Austria maybe has the best player between the two teams in Kasper, but in terms of teams, Austria just has no scoring depth and their defense is pretty ugly again.
Steven, I know we like the weird small countries, but were you the exact same way as me where the tournament's in Edmonton this year and I'm like, the game I got to see, it's Austria-Germany. I got to watch that game because I think that's going to be the one to watch. That's who goes to relegation.
Yeah, see, I'll be in Edmonton for the juniors, but I probably won't have a car access, so I don't think I'll be going to the relegation games. But the relegation games to me are some of the most fun because it's they're playing for their lives, and then the games that lead up to decide who goes in the relegation round, those are just as good, if not better. So I love games like that.
I didn't know you're coming to the tournament. Well, okay, I'm going to text you off then. We'll go out and grab a coffee or a beverage, whatever, when you're up here. And we'll definitely go check out maybe a game or two together in the media box. Steven, man, I got to let you go. I got to wrap up the show. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge, man. Best of luck with everything. You're crushing it with the hockey news, and we'll connect soon.
I appreciate it. And Tyler was awesome right before me.
He's the best as well. Steven, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Yep, thank you. Bye.
Steven Ellis right there from the Hockey News joining me on World Hockey Report. All right, we got to wrap it up. Wow, a lot of NHL news breaking during the show today. I'm not sure if you can keep track of all of that, but again, we got the Canes and the Wild. That game, it's canceled for tonight. Flames game, that's already canceled. You got a COVID case on Edmonton. Ryan McLeod goes there. Now for the Canes, Andrei Svechnikov, Ian Cole, Steven Lorentz, and Jordan Stahl. They've entered COVID-19 protocol. It's a disaster around the league. That's the simplest way to put it. And wow, I really hope we can get through the World Juniors here. Full fans. Let's just get there and get out of the thing. Come on. That's all I want. That's all I really want as of right now. ACHA news, though, and this is a tough way to finish it, but we got to talk about it. It's sad. And this goes out to the Kalju Vulcans right now. The sudden passing of Branson King. Hearts, go out to the family, the friends, the team, everyone there. It's tough. And even with some of the natural disasters happening right now in the Midwest, I know that there's been others who have passed away. You've got connections to ACHA. It's terrible. It's sad. It breaks our heart. And, in a time where we're dealing with so much COVID negativity, for this to be added on top, it's just tough. It's tough to talk about. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved. And the same goes for Chandler Stevenson. I'll share what Adam shared here on Twitter because it's a touching story as well. So Chandler Stevenson, he reveals he recently lost his grandmother, presumably why he missed last game. Starting to tear up, talk about his 4 assist night. He said, "I've never had 4 assists, and I think she was helping me tonight with that one." I mean, that just... It's touching. It's touching. It's great to, see a guy like that have success and be able to look in the mirror and go, hey, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. So again, our thoughts and prayers go out to Chandler Stevenson, the Kings, everyone who's had a tough go here. COVID, it's not getting any easier. End of the day, get vaccinated, stay healthy, do your part. That's the simplest way to put it. But we got hockey tonight as well, and enjoy it. Oilers leave 7 o'clock primetime game. There's so much hopping on. I think I'm going to be 6:30 Alberta time. I'll be hopping on the Real Captain Lou extravaganza, Captain Lou's show. He's always a blast. We've had him on this show before. So tune in if you can, 6:30, 12-ounce sports. Huge thanks to everyone who makes this show possible, though. Our producer, Bryce Bunn, social media manager, Eric Krause, Adam Ermentrout. Huge part of the World Hockey Report team. Jeff Beck over at 12-ounce sports studios, Isha and Dylan at the Hockey Podcast Network. If you miss any of it, you can catch it on the Hockey Podcast Network. Download it wherever you get your podcast from. Use promo code THPN on DraftKings, and be sure to stop by Lord Auto Parts, the absolute best. That's why Team Canada, Hockey Canada trusts them the most. Tomorrow's show. It's going to be a big one. I can't tease some of the guests yet, as we're still hoping to maybe line up some more. But it's going to be a fun one. World Juniors are coming up. World Hockey Report. We're buzzing as normal. Talk to you tomorrow, same time, same place. Be kind, be better.